Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sam Richter.
You can understand what the other person's doing, why they do it, how they do it, who they choose to do it with. You can figure out the answers to those questions before you walk in the door. That's where you're going to provide a lot of value. That's what I'm going to show you how to do. In the old days, I used to go up and go, "Hi, how you doing? Very nice to meet you. We're going to spend an hour together. I brought my portfolio of award-winning ads. None of them have anything to do with you or your company, but we're going to spend 45 minutes going through it, and when we're done, we'll have 15 minutes left over where we can talk about me. How does that sound?" What they're really buying from you in that initial meeting is you. Do I trust this person? Does this person look like he or she knows what he's talking about? Can this person solve my problems? Do they understand my industry? But 15 years ago, let's say you really screwed up. You did something wrong in business. Even maybe you embarrassed your family. You did something bad in the community. How many people really knew about it? Not very many. Maybe a couple of friends told each other. We're going to learn more about how to use search engines, more than you've ever thought possible. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to get information out of search engines. We're going to talk about the invisible web, or the portion of the internet that's just not searchable via search engines. And we're going to talk about how to get access to very high-end databases, how to get access to very high-end information that big companies are paying hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars for. How can you get access to those same resources at no charge? How many of you have ever taken a formal Google class? None of us, but we're expected to use this stuff multiple times a day. So what I try to share with people is, how do you use the web? Yeah, I teach you how to use the web and how to search, but more important, how do you use the web to find information that you never thought possible? And then how do you use that information to build deeper relationships with your clients? So the key is, by putting good information into a search engine like Google, by putting good information in, you're going to get good information out. So let me give you just a couple of tips on how do you put good information into a search engine like Google. How many of you, within 5 minutes of Kim Kardashian filing her divorce papers the other day, were online Googling it? So I'm looking for this guy, William Scott Johnson. He's located in Alexandria, but every time I type in Alexandria, I get the country Greece, so I don't want that. So is it minus sign? Do I use quotes? Do I use plus? Do I use and? I don't have time to remember all this stuff. How many of you have seen this little button over here called advanced? How many of you look at that button and you say, nah, not for me. I'm not advanced. So if I know what your website address is, which is easy to find, just type in your company name within quotation marks within Google. I can find your company website address. Once I do that, I can go into Google and I can do something at, type in your website address. Really important, put the whole thing within quotation marks. And what Google will do is it's going to go out there and find web pages where email addresses exist. I didn't just hack into Cargill's email directory. Rather, I'm looking for web pages where an email address exists. How about finding decision makers? Find me the vice presidents of something at Ameriprise. Give me the vice presidents of something at Ameriprise. Google, fill in the blanks for me. Now, I'm not hacking into Ameriprise's employee directory. That's a different presentation I could share with you later. How many of you suffer from temporary amnesia? Any of you? Or how many of you suffer from permanent amnesia? Where you're at an event like this, you're going to meet a lot of really cool people during the lunch hour, and you're going to get their names, and you're going to get their company name, and you're going to go, you're thinking to yourself, wow, they could be a really cool partner. They could really be a great client of ours. You're going to go Google them tonight, right? And you can't remember their company name. You can't remember their last name. Well, there's a cure for that. I call it amnesia assistance. Google calls it an asterisk or a wild card. Anytime you can't remember a piece of information, drop in an asterisk. Google will fill in the blanks for you. What's the likelihood that one of these high net worth individuals is going to Google your name before they decide to work with you? What do you think the likelihood is? 100%. 100%. I said, what do you think they find? He said, I have no clue. I said, well, I found your MySpace page. He said, oh yeah, that thing. I set that up like 5 years ago. He goes, is that still out there? I said, not only is it out there, but it's been hijacked by a pornographer. Which I said, and now that I think about it, may actually be the reason why his practice is so successul. But Google's got the Google Library Project, where they're going to libraries around the world and indexing old newspapers, trade journals, magazines. All this stuff is searchable. You want to freak yourself out? Do this on your own name. Now, if your name's Joe Smith, this won't work too well. All right, but if your name's Joe Bafutnik, it'll freak you out. You've all downloaded files from the internet, right? You never really think anything of it. Did you know that every file ever posted to the web, Google indexes? And it not only indexes the title of the document, it actually opens up and makes every single word within that document completely searchable. How do you find it? You use what's called a file type colon search. This could be an Excel spreadsheet of the products that Honeywell sells into South Dakota. And as a matter of fact, on column F is their list price, and column G is what they actually charge the state. Now, do you think this would be valuable for any of you? As I'm talking here, I'm kind of like making a note to self. Note to self, don't pick on a Fortune 500 company with in-house lawyers. Don't leave it to chance. Get an early warning system. How many of you have a Google Alert account? Completely free. Google.com/alert. You can set up as many alerts as you want. I set them up on my name, my wife's name, my kids' names, my business, my clients, my prospects. Anytime Google finds anything new, it sends me an email. And you can even choose, hey, Google, only send me news. Only send me blog posts. Now, many of you are probably sitting here going, gosh darn it, Richter, why didn't you teach me this stuff when I was in college? I mean, seriously, American history plus, term paper plus file type colon DOC. Click. Print. Go out and party. So some of these things you don't want to tell your kids. I talk about in my book that I'm going to feel completely linked in, completely networked in life when I'm 1 degree away from the Pope, the Queen of England, and the President of the United States. People ask me, they say, Sam, what's the power of LinkedIn? And here's my answer. Well, think about this. I'm some hunyuck from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I'm 2 degrees away from the Pope. Who does that mean I'm 3 degrees away from? Okay? Now that took a while for some of you to get it. That is the power of LinkedIn. Did you know that every tweet on Twitter ever sent at any time is archived and searchable forever via the Library of Congress? I'm also going to be in St. Louis at the same time that Mark's going to be in St. Louis. So how do you use this information? Again, if Mark and I wanted to do business together, now again, you got to do this carefully. Hey, Mark, I was spying on you and I see that you're going to be in St. Louis next week. I was hoping we could meet for coffee. No, you got to do it tactfully. OpenSecrets.org. Give you every political contribution made in the United States. Now, why is this important? Because sometimes in a meeting, knowing what not to say is as important what to say. Before I meet with people, I like to do a little bit of homework. Because I want to make sure that everything I talk about today is relevant to the things that you care about. Now, use your own words, but when you do that kind of a thing with a prospect or a client, it really shows respect for the other person. And by the way, it will differentiate you from 99% of the people that other person's ever met with. How many of you like to golf? How many of you have clients who like to golf? How many of you would like to know if your clients tell the truth? So one of our speakers that's coming up this afternoon is an outstanding golfer. At least he claims that, so I wanted to check him out. Here's Eric. And so if you're going to be, Eric, how you doing? Eric, if I'm going to be in a charity golf tournament, you want to be on Eric's team. Just because you can find the information, does that necessarily mean that you should use it? So for us, for example, if I said to you, a great way to practice sales intelligence is to send an intern over to your competitor at 3 in the morning and look through their garbage can, go dumpster diving. How many of you would say that's a good idea? Although I see a couple of you writing notes, Send intern. You just need to go through life thinking everything you do online, in digital format, whether that's a text, a tweet, a Facebook post, a comment on a blog, or your website. Anything in digital format, you need to assume that piece of information that you just put online is going to be out there in the public domain and searchable forever. And then I like to say, if you want to see if I actually know what I'm talking about, Google my name. If I don't own the first 100 pages of Google search results on my name, and there are lots of other Sam Richters in the world, I've just kind of virtually eliminated them, then I don't know what I'm talking about. So this is my business card. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you very much, guys.
fascinating was that?